Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. Today we're going to be making these cute Easter baskets. I'm sure you've seen lots of these all over the internet. They aren't anything new. I'm going to show the two styles with the triangular and the square front, and we're going to make one from 8x8 cardstock and one from 6x6 cardstock. The 8x8 cardstock basket ends up as 2.5 by 3 on the base, 2 3/8 of an inch high, and it widens to 5 inches. This one has a style with a triangle front. The smaller one, made from the 6x6 cardstock, has a square front, and this one is 2 inches high. It widens to 3 7/8 of an inch at the widest point, and the base is 2 by 2 1/4 inches. The baskets are quick and easy to put together. The most time-consuming element is deciding how you're going to decorate them. So let's put the two baskets together. I'll start by giving you the measurements for the larger basket, and that will need a piece which is 8 inches by 7 inches. Along the 7-inch side, score at 2.5 and 5.5. Rotate. On the 7-inch side, score at 2 1/4 and 4 3/4. Then along the top section, we're going to score down to the first score line only at 3/4, 1.5, 5.5 and 6 1/4. Rotate the cardstock 180 degrees and then repeat, scoring down to the first score line only at 3/4, 1.5, 5.5 and 6 1/4. So you'll end up with a piece which looks like this. Now you can have different styles of boxes. So if, for instance, you want your center piece to be a triangle like this, then make a notch along the top edge on the 7-inch side at 3.5 inches. Rotate 180 degrees and do the same at 3.5 inches. So they will be your measurement for your larger basket. If you want to make the smaller basket, you'll need a piece which is 6x6. Along one side, we're going to score at 2 and 4. Rotate 90 degrees. Score at 1 7/8 and 4 1/8. We're going to work in the top section and down to the first score line only. Score at 5/8, 1 1/4, 4 3/4 and 5 3/8. Rotate 180 degrees and repeat 5/8, 1 1/4, 4 3/4 and 5 3/8, and your piece will look like this. If you wanted to have this again as a triangle side, you'd then make a notch at 3 inches, rotate 180 degrees and make a notch at 3 inches. The folding and scoring will be exactly the same regardless of which size you use. So I'm going to fold down each of the full score lines. My extra score lines are running vertically, so we'll cut down each of the score lines like so. Do the same at the other end. As I showed at the beginning, I'll just bring my prototypes in. You can have a triangle at the front like so, and if you want that sort of look, you would cut from your notch point diagonally down and diagonally down to create your triangle. If you prefer the squarer look, which is this one, then you can just leave that as it is. You don't need to do any cutting. So decide which look it is that you want to go for. I'll make the larger one with the triangle look. So I'm just going to take my scissors. For the purposes of this particular basket, I will use a brad to secure the pieces together, and I will also use the brad to then secure the handle. I'm going to mark with my pencil approximately 1/4 of an inch down from the top of the cardstock. So I'm just going to move that up slightly, and then halfway across each strip. So I'll mark that with a pencil like so. I'll add my screw punch holes into the top and the bottom where I've marked. And as I said, you don't need to do this. You can glue your pieces together. So you might want to skip forward if you're not interested. Think about whether you want your triangle to sit on the outside of the 3 strips, or if you want the look of the 3 strips sitting on top of the triangle. So you can have the look of the basket 2 ways. I am going to have my triangle on the top. I'm going to start by just folding in my strips, get the holes lined up. And then I could pull up my outer triangle, and I'm just going to pencil through to mark on the triangle where I want to put my hole. So that's going to go in there like so. So I would do the same the other side. For the yellow basket, I've cut myself 2 handles. These are about 8 inches long and they're 3/4 of an inch wide. I've added a hole in with a screw punch approximately 1/2 inch from either end. So I'm going to start by adding the handle onto the outside of the triangle, and then adding on my strips. I'm going to actually have 2 handles, so I need to add this one on. I'll just hold that in place. And now I'm just going to repeat the process at this end. I'm going to cut the 6x6 piece in exactly the same way, and I'm going to leave this central panel as a square rather than a triangle, and I'm going to glue this one together rather than add a brad. So that comes together like so. That's got a nice profile to the basket. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to snip off the excess of the square and the excess overhang of any of the strips, and shape the front so that it's in line with the strips. So that just gives this slightly pointed profile. I'm now going to add my strap onto the final basket, and then that's effectively the basket's done. Here's the 2 baskets. For the smaller green one, I've just added a 1/2 inch strip. This was about 6 inches long, which I've just glued into place. And then the larger one, I've added some decorative elements onto the front of the basket. I have added some patterned paper to the sides, and this was 2 inches by 2 3/4 inches. So here we have today's project. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel, and until next time, thanks for watching.